When I heard that Cigman had released a new golf laser rangefinder, the CT-1200, I was genuinely looking forward to getting my hands on it and putting it through its paces on the golf course. Probably better known for their self-leveling lasers than their golf rangefinders, Cigman has previous for selling high quality golf lasers at affordable prices. For example, the CT-1200's predecessor, the CT-1000, is hands down one of the best laser rangefinders I've ever tested, so the thought of Cigman making this model even better really excited me. However, after spending a few rounds with the CT-1200, I've got to be honest with you, it hasn't quite lived up to the hype I built up for it, particularly when compared to the CT-1000. It's pitched as a super affordable budget rangefinder and it certainly delivers on price, but I'm just not as convinced as some other reviewers seem to be. Let's get the obvious out of the way first. At around £60 with my exclusive 15% discount code, which you can find in the description below, the CT-1200 really is affordable. For that kind of money, nobody is expecting a device that can go toe-to-toe with the latest premium Bushnell model, but you do still hope for a solid performer. From a purely aesthetic point of view, I actually quite like the look of it. The orange accents against the white casing give it a bit of a modern, sporty look. However, I can only imagine that its white casing is going to be a nightmare to keep clean, especially if you're prone to dropping things or if you're playing in muddy conditions, which, let's be honest, is most of the time here in Scotland. My immediate impression taken out of the box was that it felt very, very cheap. It's entirely plastic, and whilst it's lightweight, small and incredibly compact, which are of course positives for those of you who carry your clubs, it just really lacks that nice premium feel. Perhaps my expectations were set too high by the CT-1000, which not only looked great, but felt great too, and cost about the same. Firstly, there's no rubber grip, which is a real shame and might be a bit of an issue when it gets wet. Secondly, it feels almost too wide in the hand and just generally lacks any ergonomic shaping. This, coupled with the fact that there's no rubber grip, just means it's not very comfortable to hold. That said, when it comes to the golf course, where it matters the most, the CT-1200 actually performs quite well. Despite my criticism of its build quality, when it comes to zapping those pins on the golf course, the CT-1200 is actually surprisingly good. It's fast firing and very accurate. I tested both the continuous scan mode and the flag lock and consistently found the readings to be within 2 to 3 yards of my ShotScope Pro X laser and the expected yardage from my ShotScope V5 golf watch. In my experience, that's more than accurate enough for most amateur golfers. Despite being lightweight, it's easy to keep still, which is important for quick, accurate readings, especially for those lengthier approach shots. The display is crystal clear and it's easy to focus, and the numbers are easy to read whether you're playing in bright sunshine or under cloudier conditions. In truth, I didn't put its 1200 yard range to the test, but I did measure to bushes, trees and on-course hazards around 200 to 400 yards, and it returned yardages no problem. From 220 yards and in, it did well to lock onto pins, giving a nice solid vibration as confirmation. Even with busy backgrounds like trees directly behind the flag, it generally locked onto the pins without any issues. As is pretty much the case for all golf laser rangefinders these days, the CT-1200 has slope mode, which is accurate, providing an adjusted distance for those uphill or downhill shots. A little quirk of the CT-1200 is that it has an LCD display on the side of the device, which will show the last yardage that you obtained for a period of time after you've pressed the button. Now for me, this is something that is useful if you happen to forget, but it's probably not something that I'll use personally all that often, and it is a little bit gimmicky. It's also worth mentioning that the resolution on the screen is pretty poor, and it would be nice for it to show the adjusted slope value as well as the standard value to the pin. Before we discuss where the CT-1200 struggles, if you are getting value from this video, then please be sure to hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments about this laser, drop them in the comments area below, and whilst you're there, be sure to hit the subscribe button and notification bell so that you don't miss any future videos. Now, aside from a few minor issues, the CT-1200 has done fairly well. But there are bigger issues that need to be addressed. My biggest bugbear, and something that is also an issue with the CT-1000, is the multitude of non-golf modes found on the CT-1200. Speed, horizontal and vertical distance measuring modes are confusing and are just unnecessary on a golf rangefinder. During my testing, I genuinely found it difficult to figure out which mode I was in most of the time, especially if I pressed the wrong button and ended up cycling through them. Rather than including modes on laser rangefinders that golfers won't ever actually use, I really wish manufacturers would just keep it simple and leave them off. Then there's a cart magnet. Yes, at least it has one, which is great for those of you who ride buggies. However, it's very small and significantly less powerful than the magnets on other lasers that I've tested. While it will probably work okay on a smooth path, I'm generally not convinced that it would hold securely if you're bouncing through rough terrain in a buggy or facing a strong headwind. Another concern is around the all-plastic construction, which doesn't fill me with confidence regarding its durability. It doesn't feel like it will be able to withstand being dropped or bashed around particularly well, which can sometimes happen with golf laser rangefinders. Finally, the slope mode switch, or rather the lack of a proper physical switch. The CT-1200 allows you to disable slope mode for tournament play by pressing and holding the two buttons on the top of a device simultaneously. Whilst this works, it means there's no visible indication for playing partners to confirm that slope mode is not active during competitive rounds, aside from the fact the LCD display on the side of the unit turns green for 12 seconds. A simple, obvious physical switch like the one found on the side of the ShotScope Pro LX rangefinder is a much more convenient and transparent method than a green display, which I'm just not convinced most people will actually know means that slope mode is inactive. It's not all bad though. There are some positives that can be found on the CT-1200. It has a built-in battery that is charged using a standard USB-C cable, meaning there's no faffing about with proprietary cables or buying replacement batteries, and the port has a high quality rubber seal which does a great job of keeping dirt and moisture out. Unusually for a budget laser rangefinder, the carry case is also surprisingly good quality and should do a good job of keeping the laser dry if it starts to rain. So with that in mind, what are my final thoughts on the CT-1200? Is the CT-1200 the best budget rangefinder on the market? In my opinion, no. There's no denying that it nails the basics. It's fast, it's accurate, and it's very affordable. If you're on a tight budget and just need a reliable rangefinder, then you'll probably be happy with the Cigman CT-1200. The clear display, effective flag lock, and 1200 yard range and accuracy are all positives. However, the build quality feels a little bit poor and the ergonomics just aren't great. The inclusion of the unnecessary modes and the weak cart magnet are genuine frustrations which take away from the positives. While some might find its minimalist plastic design fine for the price, and remember there is a 15% saving to be made using the link in the description and my code AGB15, I'd personally rather pay the extra £30 or £40 for the ShotScope Pro L2, which I think is a much better budget option. And in this review video here, I'll explain why.